Hey, muy buenas noches, everyone. I hope everybody doing well, blessed, and enjoying family. And as always, muchísimas gracias to everyone for everyone's words, support, time, most of all your prayers. It really does mean a lot. Gracias. And just before I get into things, this one's gonna be a little quick, but I will touch further on this, right? But everything was calm here at the ranch, but you guys know Sinaloa right now, and people take advantage of that, right? And it just went back up with them gentes from Wasaves, for those that don't know. So we'll see where it leads to, right? Nevertheless, palabra es palabra, and I'm here to see if I could expand a little bit more on the message. I will continue on my story, but on this one, I wanted to touch on something that gets thrown around a lot, right? But with a personal experience, as you guys know, which is cuando caes, caes solo. When you fall alone. Does anybody really know the true meaning of that? Because it has a lot of different angles, right? That I'll be honest with you. When I was a youngster, right, a kid, doing whatever, I took it for face value, right? Which was I get arrested, live shot, and you get whatever you get solo bolo, right? But throughout the years, I seen or experienced different things that has a lot more meaning. On this one, I want to touch on the Billy Popeye from Harpies and the homie Crook from West Tepa 13, right? I met the homie Crook up there in the Bay. This had to be in 2008, 2009, one of them 2 years. But first and foremost, Popeye, with those he did not consider worthy, right? Because they were under one of his brothers or whatever. It could really be one of them, right? But I never had no negative crossings with them personally, but I seen him numerous of times, right? Where he was above everybody, right? Nevertheless, getting back to the homie Crook, right? He I'm not sure if he was on the first bus up to Pelican Bay or came a little bit after, but he was back there for over 20 years in the shoe. Because the way they had him validated was in us, an associate, right? But as a main member. And it's just CVC, that plays games. That's all it is. Um, but anyways, the homie was in there for a manslaughter, but nevertheless, he, he was down for a long time, right? And it's real difficult, I seen it time and time again. If you're in the shoe and you have life or anything in that sense where they can sit on you back there, you're gonna sit back there. You're not gonna parole. It's rare, right? In my case, it was a technicality, and my sentence got reverse, excuse me. But other than that, just on the match, it's difficult, right? That's why a lot of people decide to just say "I te ves," do their thing, which I'm not gonna touch on it here. There's too many people already touching on that. But anyways, the homie, when we were back there, we're actually in the same compa, right? And he was gonna parole. I don't. I know they're kind of in the same. territory, right? Lennox, Tepa, and it's just word of mouth amongst camaradas, right? That I know this, but and harpies, excuse me. But he was gonna get out, so of course, a lot of people think, oh, you got who, you got this. Nah, there's no such thing as a sureño that have who. You got responsibilities, and more so than ever, even if you get out, you're gonna come back, right? Because the system is made like that for it to be a never-ending circle, right? Once they catch you, you're gonna be in and out. So you get out and you do what you're supposed to, because you don't even have to lift your hand. Among conversations, these individuals, they're tecatos. They know how to twist you up in words to the point where it's set in stone, right? It's where stay trucha, be smart, right? Nevertheless, in a lot of my videos I speak on a lot of older vatos that get out and they have a misled agenda, right? For their benefit. I don't know if because the younger homies, kick down, whatever that benefit may be, but they end up hurting peewees by promoting that prison is something that it's not, right? But in the other side of that coin, there is vatos that really touch their heart for the neighborhood, right? That sat back there and they did it proudly for their neighborhood. And I really think Crook was one of them. He had a lot of responsibilities when he got out with three neighborhoods, which was Harpies, Lennox, and his neighborhood. He had to put them together to what extent that was being with him and the Pili, right? But when you're dealing with the Gatos, you gotta always remember that they don't take losses in any way. They don't comprehend that you have to foresee them because they come with the territory on everything. You're a felon, validated felon on high risk parole, gonna get out, and you got a lot against you from the gate. You've been down for over 20 years, not just down but slammed, and then you throw him out just by word of mouth. I have your neighborhood. I personally know how the I did everything for my neighborhood. And when things hit the fan, yeah, I always stood in touch, but there was always youngsters where, huh? You know, it's just one of them things. So you can't expect respect to be given without earning it, right? I don't know if I'm making sense, but nevertheless, the homie ended up paroling. He got out and started doing his thing, right? However he went about it, he did it. But there was pushback. Of course there was. There was youngsters that had never heard of him. So he couldn't get control of his neighborhood. And you had Popeye asking, go ahead and get at him. You know what happened? There's no movement there. There's no papitos coming in. ¿Qué está pasando? Asegúrate ahí. So, it was exactly that, you know, is he couldn't get things in order. Another thing is, that little area, they're all enemies, and I understand that gang banging part in South Califas, right? That every neighborhood, more than anything, they don't get along. And it's just because of the gang banging on the streets, right? So how you gonna have a rival veterano come and tell you this is me? You're gonna start giving me. Of course, you're gonna have one, two, I don't know, some fools that in the back of their mind they're thinking like, hey, don't slip up, fool. I'm gonna smoke you. I'll be sincere, before I got busted in 96, in the early 90s where Weddle and Mosca started coming around, I was one of them. Ain't no fool that's not even from the county gonna come in and tell me what to do in my neighborhood or tell my neighborhood. Let me just catch him where other homies can't know I was the one, right? And but again, that's just the green mentality, right? Because the repercussions are real, especially now, right? With the verde, and then what comes after. You do it out of gangster because you don't want to pay, and then you end up paying more, right? Because you're getting the boots in the counties. Anyways, I fell off track. So the homie was doing his thing. I think he was able to pull some people from Lennox, and this is one of the main reasons why I think there was a little anger there was spy against Papa, right? Because again, this happened earlier on, but nevertheless, he was there in Lennox under Papa's orders, right? But the biggest push he got, Crook, was from his own neighborhood. They were telling him, Chalice, they had an avenue to a Billy, and they felt it wasn't necessary to touch base with another Billy. But you, as a camarada, how do you tell this to the Billy that your own neighborhood don't want to do it when you love your neighborhood, when you know what's coming, which is you're gonna be the one that greenlights your neighborhood and puts out that I'm appeal stating to go ahead and boogie on your neighborhood to make a point when you just spend decades for your neighborhood. So again, I'm not in any way trying to sideline with Crook, right? But I mean, every coin has sides, right? Everything has an angle. Nevertheless, he held a lot of things back that surfaced later on, excuse me, because he couldn't get his neighborhood to budge and do what they were supposed to for a lot of misunderstandings that they had amongst neighborhoods, right? Or even amongst cliques, I don't know, something like to that effect. Nevertheless, again, when you get out like that, Judas are there, right? And then you start doing things for a Billy that has a lot of movement at the time, that has directing you to different angles, of course. Heat's gonna be on you on the spot, right? Quick. Don't matter how slick and smart you are, it's just again we speak about losses, right? You have to take them into consideration. But what the homie didn't take into consideration was I got a job to do, a lot of responsibility to handle, and for protecting some knuckleheads, I'm gonna be hurt. My neighborhood's gonna be hurt. Again, I can understand, you chill your neighborhood, that's where your heart's supposed to be at, period. But he was a veterano. He should know better. Nevertheless, within time they caught up to him. He got busted, and in the overall, whatever he did for Papa, it wasn't enough. As it usually ain't, right? It was a loss. again, they don't take losses. It was an opportunity for him to reach out to a different area or different angles, right? And make more money. And the homie Crook couldn't make it happen, even though he said he would, because he thought, oh, I just pull decades for my neighborhood, I'm gonna get on and be respected. But no, you see, we're brainwashed like that, right? Because everyone do answer me why when, excuse my language, when a dick gets out, bad intentions, letting everybody, stating I'm so and so, I got this, or else, and starts clipping heads, then everyone starts listening. But when somebody sacrifices their whole life for their neighborhood, he don't use this, he tries to do right. You could clearly see that he's chilling the neighborhood. There's no compassion there. You see where barrios, our barrios from our angle are wrong, right? That's where stay wise or be wise comes in. Loyalty overall, but to those that count. Now with this, I don't say if you go to prison, be disloyal to the Ramfla. Nah, do what you have to do for the Ramfla and the causa, right? You're already there. Boot up, suit up, y vámonos. But, just be wise, because the homie Crook, it's going to be a lot of people that come on that know him, right? It's a good homie again. But, hit county, the first thing Popeye did when he was in county was go ahead and hit him. As far as I heard, he got hit more than once, right? Because the homie, well, he didn't comprehend what was happening. But again, if you were there in the movement at the time, right? Or you were there for a Pili, there's not supposed to be no losses. Again, you take the responsibility for one Pili. He holds you in the palm of his hand, right? The best bet is to do you. That for those that haven't been to prison, prison ain't where it's at. As you guys know or probably heard, what ended up happening to this individual, not for this, for many, many worse things, right? And but when you take the EME out of the conversation, just think about how many camaradas this individual had removed. So just don't believe that hype that prison is where at. You're gonna earn a bunch of responsibilities that are given to you, which in the sense is the same thing. Basically, they're giving you enough rope to choke yourself because there's no winning. Don't believe that myth. Yeah, it's all good and fun. Well, at least in my case, right when I was inside and the big riot kicked off and shoulder to shoulder, you handle business, or you went out to yard with a camarada from a different angle in California with pieces and you took care of business or whatever it is. That's something beautiful right there. I'm not saying nothing against that. All I'm saying is be wise to everything. For those that come out, there's tecatos with bad intentions for other bigger tecatos. I mean, look, if it cannot be grounded in someone said what is happening, where you can't even have your own family visit you without you being told to force your family to do something or else. You know, when you're a peewee pushing back on certain things, or you're pushing to go to prison, to sit down and be told by an individual what to do, how to do it, and to force your family, but then you don't push back. And again, I'm not pushing for that. It's just, I want to make sense. But, I think it was just one of them things. The homie was back there doing his things with helping the minute he got out. That's something that I'll leave this video with. Don't ever, ever, ever promise anything that you're not sure on. Because remember, what's good today ain't tomorrow, and that includes in one's neighborhood. The worst thing is when you're monstecato, you don't even have to give promises. If it comes out your mouth, it's sealed. It's a done deal. You're gonna be hold to it. So again, just love yourself, your neighborhood. Just stay true to those that deserve for you to be true. There's nothing in prison, believe me, but a whole bunch of lost time, headaches, heartaches. You're good for a couple decades, but you're not because of something that happens in a couple weeks that you have no control over. Please stay true to yourself and love your two loved ones. I hope it made sense, everyone. Buenas noches.
Tu gracia triunfó.